and record. Okay. All right, so today we're going to continue. Everybody is up and running with the Power BI? Even on the app stream? Okay, so today we're going to continue going through the different options that Power BI can offer, okay? So what we did in the previous class was we imported the data, right? We connected to the data source. In our case, it was Excel file, okay? And but it can be a lot of different stuff, right? It can be directly from the database or from the CSV file, a bunch of different options. And we have created actually just simple things, right? Such as the column chart and also the line chart. One thing that I wanted to emphasize actually is this. I can easily switch between the way how my charts look, right? By just simply choosing different visualization tools. So for example, right now I have vertical charts, right? Which are column charts. I can just as easily make it into the horizontal chart like that, okay? Or I can go ahead and convert that into something else, like for example, pie chart. Pie chart, by the way, that's every time when I teach the course, the intro to data analytics, we also go through different types of charts, right? Using Tableau, and pie chart is one of the worst options, okay? So there is a general lack of positive reception, let's just put it this way, in the academic community, okay? So whatever information you can present with pie chart can be more effectively represented with the bar chart, okay? So like good practices to try and avoid pie charts as much as possible, but look at that, it's part of the standard visualization menu, right? In Power BI, Tableau has the same thing. You can pretty much, it's a one-click option. You can create pie chart, okay? Which basically to me means that even though generally speaking, people in academia, right, professors, they tell you not to use pie charts, but it's actually used out there in the reality in businesses, right? Otherwise, Microsoft or Tableau would not include that option into their standard menu, okay? But I'm going to revert it back to where it was before, okay? All right, so, and we went through the line chart, right? We said that, hey, there is a natural ordering, right? So because we were going to plot sales by versus time, right? And the closest thing that we have for time is order date, okay? And then we discussed that orders, the dates, generally speaking, are organized in a hierarchical fashion, right? And this is, by the way, the same exact thing for Power BI and for Tableau, okay? The date, the highest level of date is year. Then year breaks into quarters, quarters break into months, months break into the days, right? So there's like natural hierarchy of, well, you can think of that as aggregation, right? Okay, group by sort of, right, operation. Okay, so let's do this, you guys. Let's explore tables, okay, and matrices. And I'm going to show you what's the difference between tables and matrices. So for example, let's say I want to look at the sales figures, okay, again, by category, pretty much what I've done over here, right? On this chart, sales by category, but I want to represent numbers in form of tables and maybe even split each category further into the subcategories. So how would I do that? I'm going to create a new tab, okay? And let's do this. I'm going to click on sales right here, all right? And I'm going to click on category as well. So pick from the list of fields these two, okay? And Power BI offers me, you know, a column chart, right? It says, I think this is the best because one of them is numerical column, sales, another is categorical, which literally says category, right? So the best thing to do is just, you know, represent the sales as the tall bar, okay? And just have a bunch of them stacked one next to each other, right? But I'm going to find in the listing of things over here. This one that says table, okay? And let's go ahead and switch that to the table, all right? So table just simply summarizes, this is sum of sales, right? So I can see that among 3 of my categories, right, technology was the best selling. Next one was furniture, and office supplies were the least one, right? Okay, and I can see that what it did basically is it added, the both columns into the, here is the tab where I mess with fields, right, that I have. Okay, so if I want to break it down further into the subcategories, because I know furniture, for example, it has chairs, tables, bookshelves or bookcases or whatever, right? I can go ahead and split that further. So at the end of my list of fields, there is a subcategory, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put a check mark on that. And look at that. It actually adds to the listing of fields, right? The values, right? My subcategory, and it does that at the end, okay? So I'm going to make it bigger so that all of my subcategories are fitting the table, okay? And I'm going to center this thing. But probably I want to show categories, right? And then they break down into the subcategories, and then sales for each subcategory within each category. So I can go ahead and reorder, just drag and drop, right, within these values, right, field right here. Okay, I can just reorder them, right? So now it shows categories, and then subcategories, and then sales right here, okay? Yay? Is that cool or what? All right. Oh, by the way, do I record that stuff or not yet? Okay, it is recording. Good. All right. So let's see what I can do with this. How about I'm going to create a highlight table? Okay. So what do I mean by highlight table? Let's say I want to order this stuff, right? Right now, by the way, it's ordered by sales, right? By total sales, okay? So it shows technology phones is the highest selling subcategory, right? Technology copiers is the second one, et cetera, et cetera. But if I want to kind of organize them one by one, right? I want to sort them by the category, right? So for example, all furniture goes together. All office supplies go together, all technology go together, right? I just sort by the category field, right? Now all the numbers are jumbled, right? Because I'm sorting by a different column. But I still want to see, where are my highest sales, where are my second highest sales, et cetera, et cetera. So what I can do is, instead of me browsing these numbers, right, in the column sales and trying to find out what's the first, what's the highest, what's the second highest, et cetera, I can go ahead and highlight them, okay? And that's what basically the idea behind highlight table, okay? So you add the color to the numbers so that, you could easily and quickly spot what's your, highest sales, second highest, what are your lowest sales, et cetera, okay? So that is done through the formatting, right? So anything that we do to mess with the existing chart is pretty much through the formatting. So we're going to click on this tab, format, right? And let's see. Let's go with conditional formatting, okay? So go ahead and expand conditional format. And right now it says the background is off, right? And by the way, I can actually highlight different columns, right? So I know that right now I have category, subcategory, and sales, right? So let me go ahead and highlight sales actually, okay? So I'm going to pick from the list of the fields sales, and I'm going to say background color is on, okay? And what it does for me is it highlights based on the number which is inside the cell, right? And I can actually even, if you go to the advanced controls, there should be a link right there, okay? So go to the, click on this link, and it will show you this window right here, right? Advanced controls. So this specific coloring schema is called sequential, okay? What does that mean? It's using only one color, right? It's using only blue, okay? And it goes from light blue to dark blue, right? Obviously, light blue is on the low end, dark blue is on the high end, right? So that's pretty much how it's structured, okay? So I'm going to cancel out of that. So I can clearly see right now that, you know, my darkest color is at the very bottom, right? It's technology phones. The second darkest colors are probably a couple of things on the top right here, right? Furniture bookcases and furniture chairs, right? They generate probably tops. Well, actually, if I look at the numbers, looks like technology copiers is number 2. Furniture bookcases and furniture chairs are the number 3 and number 4. And after that, I have this one, office supplies, storages, etc., etc. At the same time, my lightest color categories are, you know, my least selling items, right? And not surprising, these are office supplies, right? Because they're small, they're cheap, so therefore, even if you sell a ton of them, you probably will not generate as much money as by selling, you know, chairs and computers and that kind of stuff, right? So my least selling categories are fasteners, labels, supplies, whatever that might be, are not doing very hot, right? Okay, so this is the table, all right? Make sense? Easy? Yeah, I'm gonna save it, all right? Now let's switch attention a little bit, okay? Let's change gears a little bit. So here's what I'm going to do, you guys. Earlier today, we discussed that dates are organized in a natural hierarchy. Year breaks into quarters, breaks into month, breaks into the days, right? I can organize hierarchy myself, okay? Let's see if I remember how to do that actually. All right, so I can go ahead and, so here's the idea. Just like what we have right here, okay? Categories break down into subcategories, right? Different numbers actually. So in the furniture, I have what, 1, 2, 3, 4 subcategories, right? In technology, I also have 4, but office supplies, they have like 10, right? Depending on how many varieties of different things, you know, in each category. So therefore, I can think of that as, you know, like from the database standpoint, one-to-many relationships, right? So this basically table suggests to me that one category consists of many subcategories, right? But one subcategory belongs only to one category. So it's like one-to-many relationships, right? And similarly, individual products, right? So here they're organized. How do I identify every individual product? Here it has product name, right? Same thing. For example, let's say I have phone, right? So phone belongs to the subcategory phones, which belongs to the category technology, right? So it's the same relationship. One subcategory can consist of many product names, but one product name belongs to only one subcategory, right? So it's like one to many and another one to many, right? That's something that you saw already, right, in the project, right? The access file in your project. By the way, I'm still grading your projects, but I did post the grades for the previous one, SQL, right? They're out there, okay? Okay, so therefore, you know, the products, subcategories, and categories, I can create hierarchy out of them very similar to how the dates are organized, years into quarters, into months, into days, right? So let's do that. I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to unclick, so nothing is selected, right? That one probably is not going to work. So let's see. If I take subcategory and just drag it and drop on the top of the category. So that's usually how it's done in Tableau. Yeah. Okay. Now it actually did work, right? So another way how to do it is you go ahead and right click on the item, right? Such as category and say new hierarchy, okay? But I did it just by dragging and dropping, right? So it says category hierarchy, right? The first item, and it's expandable and collapsible, right? So there is a caret under that, right? Were you guys able to do that? No, not yet? Okay, let me go ahead and delete that stuff then. I'm going to delete, right? Yes. And I'm going to right click on the category right here, right? Category, I'm going to right click and say new hierarchy. Okay, and it created new hierarchy, right? Same stuff really. It says category hierarchy. And there is only one item right now, right? The category itself. The next level would be subcategory, right? So I'm going to pick up subcategory and drag it and drop it on the top of category right there, okay? And we'll insert that. It will not. Come on, subcategory. Please insert yourself right here. It's gonna take a while, right? Or should I drop it on the top of my hierarchy? Let's see. I don't know. Yeah. So drop it on the top of the hierarchy, right? Where it says category hierarchy. Drop it not on the category, but on the upper level, right? Uh-huh.
It doesn't work for me. Like it just gives me a X.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to delete that one right here. Delete from the subcategory. Yeah, from hierarchy. So here's what I did. I mean, I'm using the same Power BI as you, right? Mine is not special. So drop it on the top of the hierarchy, and it will add itself. Try that. Uh-huh.
So mine doesn't let me do that, and I don't have the new hierarchy. I create hierarchy, and then I right-click the subcategory, and it has the option to add to hierarchy.
Oh yeah, that's another one. Yeah, that's a good one. So if you right-click, right? Where is that? Collapse all. Yeah, I remember doing like that as well. New hierarchy. I don't have this option actually right now. Add to filters at the drill through. So Peter, do you have any of these things?
Yeah, I had to
Add to.
hierarchy.
Oh, okay. Probably the reason is you're.
If you go to subcategory, you right click.
Subcategory, right click.
Yeah, right click, and then add to filters.
Uh-huh.
Oh no, actually, I'm sorry. New.
It was like it's not there. Like,
Probably the reason is
category.
I had an option to add it to that.
yeah. The reason is I didn't update my Power BI since I'd say March, April, and you probably have more up-to-date version, so that's why it's not the same. Yeah, because you just recently installed it, right? Yeah. So yay, right? Okay, good. And I'm going to do the same thing with product name, right? I want to put product name into the same hierarchy. So just add that, right? So therefore I have category, subcategory, and product name are kind of sequential, right? And I'm going to rename it as well, okay? Because category hierarchy, I mean, this is like, all right. So I'm going to right click and say rename. I'm going to call it products, okay? Products aggregate into subcategories, right? Individual product names, and subcategories aggregate to categories, right? Okay, so here's my products hierarchy, right? And I'm going to actually, you know what, create a new tab. And here's what I'm going to do. I will click on the products, the category, right? So it will highlight all three levels under that, right? And I'm going to do the same thing, sales, okay? Sales, right there. So you can see that by default, I have created a table, right? Okay. So, and that's pretty big table, right? Because look at that, furniture has only bookcases, right? So these are individual products. Atlantic Metal Mobile 2-shelf bookcases, custom colors. So if you start scrolling, you will see that, you know, the list will get bigger and bigger, right? So there are like hundreds of different things, right? So this is probably not the best way to represent that stuff, right? So what I'm going to do is change the visualization from the table that it is right now to the matrix. Okay, it's right next door to that matrix. Okay, bam. And the matrix actually, so you can think of matrix as the pivot table. Okay, what Excel gives you as a pivot table, that's kind of sort of what matrix is in the Power BI. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Here, right? Because we created, categories, and they break down into subcategories, they break down into individual products, right? Right now it's aggregated on the top level, which is category, right? And I can expand them, right? So this is actually a pretty cool feature, drill down capability. We discussed that, right? We kind of saw that on the previous, where is that? Yeah, on this line chart, right? We can go ahead and turn on the drill down capabilities, okay? And after that, we can go to the one level below, right? Or expand, right? I go to the top level, I can go ahead and expand further and further, right? Okay, so this is drill down capability. So you start with, with the top level, and after that, if you want more details, you have an option to do that. That's pretty much what matrix is, okay? So I can go ahead and expand furniture, for example. I want to see more about furniture. I go ahead and click on the furniture, it expands, right? And let's say I want to look more into tables, okay? So I click on tables, and there you go. It expands into the tables, right? So, and I can obviously collapse, right? Also. So I have an option to drill further and further, right? Following the hierarchy. Oh, I've just simply selected matrix right there. By default, it was table like that, and I just made it matrix out of that, okay? And you can see that it has pretty much same browsing, breakdown, or drill down capabilities, right? Right here on the top, just like what we saw with the line chart, okay? So I can go ahead and, turn it on, right? Turn on drill down capability, and there are a couple of things, right? One way is I can go ahead and go to the next level. So right now I'm on the top level, right? Categories. If I go ahead and click, one level deeper, it will break down the same total sales by subcategory, right? So it went down one level. If I want to look at the next level, it will show me individual product names, right? And sales for each and every one of them, right? So I can therefore go from summary by category to summary by subcategory to summary by individual product, et cetera, right? Or alternatively, I'm going to go on the top level. I can expand, right? So double arrow, this one right here, okay? Oh, it's not double arrow, it's more like split, right? It's expand one level down. So right now, I'm looking at summary by the category. If I go ahead and click on that symbol, right, it will keep for me the summary by the category, but expand each category further into the subcategories, right? And if I go ahead and do that again, it will show me, it will expand every subcategory further down into the individual items, right? That's probably TMI, right? Too much information on the same slide, okay? Are we doing yay? Okay, cool. Now let me show you something else actually. True or false? Best-selling item is not necessarily the most profitable item. True, right? Because, for example, my best-selling item could be like in Walmart, bananas, right? But how much profit do I generate on bananas? Nah, not a lot probably, right? They're cheap, okay? And probably not much margin of profit, right? So therefore my best, most profitable item can be something else, right? Okay, so can I highlight, remember how we did highlight with the table? With the table, we said, in order for us to quickly find the highest number, second highest number, lowest number, right? Let's basically turn on the background, and by default, the background represents the number in the cell, which is sum of sales, right? But in this case, I have also numbers that represent the sum of sales. Can I go ahead and highlight them by different fields, such as profit, for example, okay? Let's try it. Okay, so I'm going to go again to the Format tab, right? And again, I'm going to go to the conditional formatting, okay? And yes, this is the right thing to do. I want to break it down by sales, okay? Highlight sales column. I'm going to turn on the background color, and it will give me pretty much same colors as what I had before, right? It's the same stuff, really. But now I want to change it, okay? And here's how I want to change it. Remember how we call this, schema when lowest sales are like bleak, like pale blue, right? And the highest sales are dark blue, okay? It's called sequential color schema, right? It's the same color, it just basically goes from pale to saturated, right? In terms of profit, 0 is the special number, right? If you profit above 0, you're making money. If you profit below 0, you're losing money, right? And moreover, accountants, how do you usually color the losses? Red, right? So therefore, I want to color, if profit is negative, it should be different shades of red, right? The more money I lose, the redder is the color. Another way around, like for example, blue, right? The higher the profit, positive profit, the bluer is the color, okay? This is called divergent color schema, okay? So I'm going to go to the advanced controls, you guys. And this is, by the way, same exact thing option is given by Power BI as it is by Tableau. Like I said, these are competing products, okay? Their functionality is largely the same, all right? Advanced controls. Yeah, so it's a conditional formatting, turn it on, right? Background color, turn it on, and then go to the advanced controls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, based on the field, right now the color is based on the sum of sales. I'm going to say, okay, let's change that to profits, right? This is the listing of all of my columns, okay? And moreover, summarization, you can change, right? So by default, it's the sum, right? If nothing else is specified, it's the heading. But look at that. I can do whatever I want, right? I can highlight it based on average or minimum, maximum, even standard deviation, right? Or median. Okay, so there are a lot of different options, but we're going to stick with sum, right? Sum of profits. Okay, and I'm going to click on the diverging, all right? And I'm going to modify the colors actually. So usually the middle point, so the way how it's structured, divergent color schema is you have a middle point which is quote unquote neutral. Okay, so this is going to be our 0, right? And from this middle color point, red color starts on the left, okay, representing losses. And again, from this middle neutral point, the blue color starts to the right, representing positive profit, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say that my lowest value, I'm going to change the color and pick like dark red, like this, okay? And on my maximum end, I'm going to pick dark blue, like this. So for the middle point, I'm going to pick light gray, all right? So that's basically how my coloring schema will look like, okay? So from like neutral light gray, it goes to bluish and then deeper, deeper, deeper blue, or reddish, deeper, deeper, deeper red, okay? But this is going to be misleading as it's done right now. Why? Because what it will do basically is it will find the middle point, okay? So in other words, here's my deepest loss, right? And here's my highest profit. It's going to find middle ground between them. Is it guaranteed to be 0? No, not necessarily, right? So I may be making like millions of dollars on my highest selling profitable item, and maybe losing $100,000 on my highest loss item, right? The middle point is going to be positive, right? I'm going to force the middle point to be 0. How? Well, instead of middle value, I'm going to say make it custom and enter the value of 0. Okay, so that means that if something is gray, this is profit equals to 0, right? And then after that, if it starts to get a shade of red or blue, well, that means loss or positive profit, right? And that's it. Okay, so I'm going to click OK, and oh my God, what do we see? Anything jumps at you, guys? Tables, right? Tables and furniture. Okay, so my deepest blue is probably right here, right? Copiers, right? So my most profitable items are actually copiers in technology and phones in technology. Bookcases and chairs aren't doing too bad. Accessories and technology, I don't know what it is, like cell phone cases. What do we mean by accessories? Or yes, I don't know. They're not doing too bad. Then office supplies, appliances aren't doing too bad. Storage is okay, right, in office supplies. But there is one, and there are a bunch of categories where I'm neutral, right? So this gray color. Envelopes, fasteners, labels, supplies in the office supplies, right? I'm not probably doing, I'm probably breaking even, right, on these items, okay? Not making profit or not getting a loss, right? They're gray. But tables, for unexplained some whatever reason, right, is my worst performing category, okay? So this is pretty much the only subcategory where I'm losing money. Huh, Peter?
Mine doesn't look like that. Like I don't have the red.
So is it sales? Because couldn't sales not be negative? Should we do profit instead?
The number that it shows is sales, right?
Yeah.
The color, how it's highlighted, is profit.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Peter, does that answer your question? Or
Yeah.
okay. So that's the difference. Okay. Before that, when I highlighted the table, conditional formatting, the number and the color pretty much represented the same thing, right? Because color was based on the sum of sales, and that's what the number is. Okay. Here it's different, right? I'm actually showing kind of sort of different things, right? Number is the sales, but the color is profit, right? So yeah. So from that standpoint, it has like multiple things going on, right? Okay, how are we doing? Yay? Easy, easy breezy, beautiful Powerpuff Girls, right? Okay. Go ahead.
Would you be able to add like a legend? Because if you were to just look at this without any sort of explanation, it'd be misleading.
Oh yeah, absolutely, right? Where do we add the legend or some sort of the title? Right here, right in the formatting. So title is off, but we can go ahead and say title is on, and we can say sales by category. Well, actually, we can break it down even further, right? Sales by category, highlighted. How about we call it highlight table? Highlight table of sales by category, colored by profit, right? Something like this, okay? And then there you go. And, I can actually go ahead and break it down into, like, if I want to see which tables, right? So I can break it down into the individual products, and I can see that not all the tables are losing money, right? Well.
Can you go back to your fields? Like how do you make the profit value?
How did I highlight?
No, how did you make the profit value and then show the sales?
Oh yeah, so values are sales, right? So the numbers that are being shown are the sales, right?
Yeah.
Sum of sales. Is that?
No, so how is it that you got it to like red?
Like how do you change it from sales to profits without changing that?
Oh,
Okay.
you mean conditional formatting piece, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, conditional formatting, right? So I have to go to the format and then conditional formatting and then say sales column, right? Turn it on the background color and then go ahead and go to the advanced controls, and that's where I mess with what colors are these, right? How do they look, etc., etc. Is that what you're asking? No? Okay, cool. All right, so far so good, right? Let's do another one, you guys. So I'm going to create a new tab. Let's do the maps. Maps are really fun, okay? I'm telling ya. All right. So let's go ahead and do the country, right? So look at that. These are global things, right? So that means that sales, not only category, subcategory, and product, right? But also I'm selling in different countries. So if you go ahead and click, select the country, it gives you the map, right? So I'm going to make the map bigger, all right, and position that in the center. Can I center it precisely? There should be, yeah, like this, right? Okay, cool. So right now the maps, like all the countries are, they have dots, right? What do they represent? Yes, middle of the country, so to speak, right? So you can see Australia, right? Australia, true or false? Australia, largely, the population is on the east coast. Yeah. And in Russia, I'm telling you, this thing right there, okay, that's where nobody lives, all right? It's like latitude and longitude of middle of nowhere, really, okay? And in Canada, look at that, it's also northern part, right? So, okay. Well, let's go ahead and do the same thing, sales, okay? So I'm going to say sales, click on the sales, and no, I want to activate my graphic object, right? And click on the sales. And what happened? What happened is the dots became bubbles of different sizes, right? So therefore, the way how this thing is represented is, well, the bigger the bubble, the higher the sales, and vice versa, right? So I can zoom in, zoom out, okay? So you can see that United States is a really big bubble, right? So these are probably the highest sales, $2.3 million, okay? And then I look at what are the other places where the sales are the highest, right? Well, UK is not bad. France, Germany is very decent, right? Everything else is pretty much very similar, right? So it's kind of hard to say. China is relatively big. India, right? Australia is fine, okay? So let's see what else I can do with these things. Let's try something that we never tried before, such as, for example, segment. Okay, so sales. I mean, everything that we sell, the products, right? We are we kind of think of them as, you know, they aggregate into subcategories, and those go into the categories, etc., etc. But there are different types of sales that we generate, and these are represented by the segment. Okay, so if you see the segment, all right, I'm going to go ahead and say segment, add segment to the legend. All right, let's see what happens. So immediately what happens is every one of my bubbles now is split into, like, it becomes a pie chart essentially, right? And it says if this 100% of sales, right? If the entire circle is 100% of sales, then we have a segment can be consumer, so people like you and me, right? Or it can be dark blue corporations, like, I don't know, CNU. CNU is buying computers, tables, chairs, paper for printers, that type of stuff, right? And home office. I don't really know what home office is. Maybe small businesses that are run from, like, you know, from your home, like you're making candles, right, at home, that kind of stuff, right? So technically it's a business, but it's not a corporation. Okay, so what do we see? We see pretty much that in each country, the dominating sales go towards what segment? Consumer, right? About half, maybe a little more than half actually of all of the sales, pretty much on average, right, go towards consumer. And then the second biggest segment is corporations, right? And the smallest segment is home offices, okay? So that's one way how I can represent the data, okay? Another way is, how about I'm going to also highlight my bubble. So instead, I'm going to click out of that. So I'm going to remove the segment from the legends, okay? But let's do the same thing as what we did with our matrix, right? So size of the bubbles represents the amount of sales. The color of the bubbles will represent how profitable something is, okay? So let's go ahead and go to format, right? And it's the same thing really, right? It's the, it should be conditional formatting, right? Or data colors. Is it data colors? Let's see, data colors. Yeah, so, and this is actually pretty interesting. Look at that. If I go ahead and, right now data colors are off, right? So data color doesn't really represent anything, okay? But if I go ahead and click it on, turn it on, what happens is, look at that, it lists all the countries, right? Immediately it populates all of the countries and it gives them the same color. So I can do it manually. I can go through country, like if I want United States to be blue, Germany is green, right? China is, I don't know, orange, right? I can go ahead and reset them all manually. I don't want to do it, obviously, right? So what I'm going to do is this, okay? Default color is blue, and there is a button that says FX, right? Let's see what it does. Does it look familiar? It's the same thing, right? I can basically modify my coloring palette right here, okay? I'm going to do the same thing, okay? Based on the field profit, so again, I'm going to, size of the bubble is sales, color of the bubble will be profit, right? It can be either neutral gray or red if I'm losing money, or blue if I'm making money, okay? So I'm going to say profit, sum of profits, right? And I'm going to make it again diverging, right? Color scheme, same exact thing. Middle point I'm going to select as light gray. Middle value is custom 0, right? Not making money, not losing money, okay? And if it's below 0, then my minimum, so on the low end, right, it's going to be dark red. And on the high level, when I'm making really profit, it's going to be dark blue, like this. Okay, so I'm going to again make a diverging color pattern. Okay, and I click OK. What do I see? Interesting, right? I see that United States not only biggest sales, right, but also darkest color, which means highest profit, right? What are the other places where I'm making money? Well, Australia is not doing too shabby, right? In China, obviously, it's kind of bluish, right? Let me zoom in on Europe. So in Europe, I mean, in the UK, I'm making profit. In Germany, France, Spain is slightly blue, right? There are a bunch of places where I don't make profit, right? Like smaller countries, right? Finland, Norway, they seem more gray than anything else, okay? All right. So let me show you something else, okay? Right now, what happens if I point to the bubble, any bubble? What does it mean? What does it call by? Is it called, by the way, when I, put the mouse and don't move it, and then the thingy, tooltip, right? Tooltip. So right now the tooltip tells me here's the country, right? And here are the sales. But I also added color by profit, right? Kind of thing. Okay. Can I add that to the tooltip? It would be nice, right? Because it says, yeah, in the United States, you're selling $2.3 million worth of stuff, but how much profit is that? Well, if you go back to the fields right here, right, to the tab fields, there is a tooltip, right? Add data field right here. So I'm going to go ahead and take profit field and just drag and drop it into the tooltips, right? Kaboom. All right. And what happens is, there you go. Now, if I point, to any of my dots, right, it shows me not just sales, but also profit. So obviously in the red bubbles or orange bubbles, it should show me negative numbers, right? So let's see, Turkey, for example. I'm obviously losing money in Turkey, right? So indeed, on the sales of $108,000, I'm losing 98. That's pretty bad, right? Then Nigeria is losing money. Then what's this one? It's Netherlands, right? Losing money. South Korea losing money a little bit. Okay. Over here, Honduras, right? Losing money slightly, etc., etc. Okay. I can actually add even more details. True or false? United States consists of 50 territorial subdivisions, right? Or independent countries, essentially, right? States, okay? A lot of other countries are organized the same way, right? Russia is broken down into regions. Then Germany is organized into lands, right? So can I go ahead and somehow break it down further? Yeah, so do you see, guys, any kind of field that has state? Yeah, state. There you go. So I go ahead and okay, let's do this. I'm going to add state to the location, and I'm going to remove country. There you go. All right. So now I'm breaking it down not by the country, but by the state within the country, right? So when I can zoom in, so let's look at the United States, right? There you go. So it turns out that in the United States, things are not great everywhere, right? The biggest sales is, well, what's the biggest state in the US? California, right? So therefore, the sales are the biggest and profits are the highest, right? Then there is New York, highest sales, highest profits. Then there is a pretty darn big Texas, right? And it turns out that even though sales are very decent, in Texas, we're actually losing money. Where else are we losing money in the United States? Yeah, so Pennsylvania, there is Ohio, right? And there is Illinois. In Florida, yeah, kind of, sort of, a little bit, right? Virginia is positive, right? So it's blue-ish. Washington is not doing that bad, right? So that allows me to actually navigate, you know, and in other countries as well, right? So if you zoom in on Turkey, for example, right? And we can see that most of the locations in Turkey are neutral gray, right? That means that we're not making much money or not losing much money, right? But there are several places where we are losing money, right? Istanbul, pretty big, then Ankara, and Izmir, right there, okay? Is that cool or what? That is pretty cool, right? Well, let me show you something else, something amazing, okay? True or false? All that stuff that happens right now is for all the sales of all products, regardless of the category or subcategory. Everything is kind of bunched together, right? So if I, for example, if I look at California, right, and the sales are $457,000, that's across all categories, subcategories, and products, right? Everything, okay? What if I would like to look at furniture, for example, right? I know that furniture globally, on the global scale, right? Furniture is doing the worst, right? Not just any furniture, but what? Tables, right? Tables are doing the worst. So can I actually go ahead and look at how tables are doing or furniture in general? Yes, I can. Right, so let me go ahead and add something. And this is the same functionality, by the way, as what we have in Excel. I don't know if you how much remember pivot table from Excel, but in Excel you can add slicers. Together with pivot tables, you can add slicers, right? You can do exactly the same thing over here, okay? I'm gonna unclick my map, right? So nothing is selected really, okay? And let me go ahead and do category, right? So I'm going to say category, and it will add for me what it believes is the best. And right now it's the table, right? But I'm going to say right next door to the table, there is slicer, okay? And I'm obviously going to make it smaller right here, okay? So right now nothing is selected, which means that it's pretty much everything, right? So if I want, for example, furniture, right? Then I'm going to click on the furniture, right? Highlighting, and just let's kind of click through them, right? You can see that as you select different stuff, the map updates itself, right? And the colors and the bubbles also change, right? So that means that the slicer actually is working, right? So I'm going to apply it apply the furniture slicer. So I'm gonna say, okay. And you know what? Let's experiment, right? So I'm going to unclick again and add another slicer for the subcategories, right? So I'm going to say subcategory, change that to slicer, okay? And subcategory should be sensitive to what the slicer value selected, right? So let's try it. For example, right now I have furniture, right, selected, and it shows me bookcases, chairs, furnishings, and tables. What if I go back? That's weird, right? I can't, so it stopped showing me the other categories. Okay, so let me go ahead and go back. Yeah, so let's do this, okay? So when, probably the reason for that is because that thing was selected. So let me try this. Okay, nothing is selected. I'm gonna say subcategory, all right, and add slicer, right? So make it into the slicer, okay? So right now it's all the subcategories, right? So what if I go ahead and pick the furniture? And it filters out the subcategories, right? It says for the furniture, your options are bookcases, chairs, furnishings, and tables, okay? What if I want technology? I pick technology, and it changes to accessories, copiers, machines, and phones, right? So my slicer subcategory is actually, it's changing, right? It's sensitive to what category I have selected, okay? So if I go back to furniture, right, and select tables, which I know is the problem everywhere, right, should be problem on the global scale. What happens is I can see that there are places, this tells me actually where problems are, right, the red color. This is where I lose money, right? So as far as the tables are concerned, state of Washington is not a problem. I'm actually doing okay in Washington, right? And also England, I'm doing okay, right? The biggest problems actually with my sales of furniture are where the biggest red dots are, right? New York, well, Texas, that's as far as the United States goes, right? And Illinois, Florida, losing a little bit of money. North Carolina is actually losing quite a bit. And then there are places in Europe, right? Specifically in France, right? Ile-de-France. Okay, then there's Germany right there, North Rhine-Westphalia, right, in Germany. Stockholm is losing money on furniture, right? Then Vilnius, that's Lithuania, right? So I can actually pinpoint Australia, right? There are a couple of places where I lose money. Ooh, Indonesia, right? That one right there. Jakarta and Java Barat, okay? So this is kind of a cool feature, right? It allows me to visually, like I know that tables are a problem, but are they a problem everywhere? No, it turns out there are actually some places where I have to concentrate specifically on, you know, how things are going, right? So I don't necessarily have to, you know, carpet bomb and address tables everywhere, right? There are only certain places where I have to kind of look closely why tables are generating losses, right? In those locations. How are we doing? Yay? Okay, awesome. So let me go ahead and, how much time do we have? About 15 minutes. Okay, let's do another one, right? Scatter plot. All right, so I'm going to add a new tab, okay? Now, scatter plots, if you remember, what type of stuff do we put on the scatter plot in terms of what variables, numerical or categorical? No, numerical. It's x versus y, right? So x variable should be a number and y variable should be a number, okay? All right, so what do you think, you guys? What are the numbers? Well, numbers have the special symbol against them, right? Discounts, postal code technically is a number, although I don't think we need to interpret that as a number, right? It's probably not going to result in anything productive. Profits, quantities, and sales. So to me, actually, what makes sense is we can go ahead and plot sales versus profits, okay? These are two natural, probably what makes most sense, right? So I'm going to go ahead and highlight sales and profits, right? And it tells me, okay, here's your total sales, here's your total profit, here is the column chart for you, my friend. Well, no, I'm going to change that to the scatter plot, okay? And the scatter plot is pretty trivial right now, right? It shows me only one point. What do you think this point represents? Total sales and total profits, right? Across all of them, right? Okay, do I want to break it down? Yeah, probably, right? So let's do that. I'm going to, let's experiment. Well, how about we do it by category and maybe further by subcategory, okay? So I'm going to take category field, right, and say add that to the details, okay? And there you go. Okay, so now my profits are split and sales, right, between point 1, point 2, and point 3. Let's see what happens if we drag details from a category from details to the legend. Not much, right? Just basically colored differently, right? But it's the same breakdown, okay? I'll probably leave it like that, okay? Because I like the fact that, you know, they're not all blue, right? Now my office supplies are kind of orange, right? And this is dark blue, that's light blue, okay? How do I add the, and you know what? Let me go ahead and look at the formatting, okay? So for the formatting, what I wanted to do is to use a different symbol, okay? So right now, they're all labeled as a dot, right? Each one of them is a dot. Can I change, yeah, shapes, really, okay? So go ahead and go to shapes, right? And obviously we can, yeah, I forgot to show you actually. On the previous one, the map, right? I can actually change the size of the bubble, all right? So if I go, so here, right, I highlight the map. And if I go to the formatting, bubbles, right? I can make bubbles bigger, or I can make bubbles smaller, all right? So that's one thing. Oh, pretty obvious, right? Pretty intuitive. Okay, so same thing here, right? I go ahead and highlight this visual, go to the formatting, and shapes, right? So sizes, I can modify sizes, right? Make, you know, dots into bubbles, big bubbles, small bubbles, what have you, okay? And right now, marker shape is applied to everything, right? It's this dot, right, or bubble, okay? What if I customize series? So right now it's off. What if I say customize series on? Okay, so furniture gonna be, well, let's leave it as a bubble, okay? Then I select next one, office supplies. Let's make office supplies a square, right? And technology, let's make it into the rectangle like this, okay? So that even like not just by, I can differentiate them not just by the color, but also by the, you know, shape of the symbol, okay? How are we doing? Okay? All right. So true or false, you guys? Under usual normal circumstances, I would expect my different, well, categories in this case to follow a pretty much straight line. In other words, sales go up, profits go up, right? So the more I sell, the more profit I generate, right? So they should be like on the same straight line, really, right? And right now it doesn't look like that, right? Can I get more details? Like, for example, not just furniture, office supplies, and technology, but break it down by the subcategory. How do I do that? Well, I do have subcategories, so how about I add that to the details? Kaboom, right? So now each and every symbol tells me what category is that, what subcategory is that, what are the sales, and what are the profits, right? And look at that, true or false. These dots, whatever, symbols, right? They pretty much follow the straight line, more or less, right? I can kind of imagine that there is a straight line that cuts through them, right? But one category that kind of doesn't play the ball is what? Our suspect, right? So the tables, right, in the furniture category. Okay. So what did we see before? Before that, let me go back to my original table, right? Before that, we saw that furniture tables, I mean, these are fairly decent sales, right? 750, almost $60,000, right? But when I looked at the matrix, right, this was the category that's actually losing money, right? So, and that's what happens right here, right? For the sales, which are kind of in the middle of the range, right? They're not on the high end, they're not on the low end, they're kind of in the middle. So for the similar categories with the similar sales, which is technology accessories and also technology machines, right? Their profit is much lower, right? Then it's actually negative, right? This is $0 million of profit. This is negative 0.1, negative $100,000, right? So furniture is losing money right there, okay? So this circle should be right here somewhere, right? Above 0, but it's not, okay? So that's your basically graphical representation that tells you that furniture does not follow quite the same pattern as what other subcategories do, okay? So pretty amazing what you can do with this thing, right? And how steep is the learning curve for this tool? Yeah, almost non-existent, right? In 1 week of classes, you can pretty much learn 80% of what's out there to learn, right? That's pretty cool. By the way, same thing applies for the Tableau. When I teach the Introduction to Data Analytics course, 1 week, maybe 4 classes, and we pretty much cover a bunch of the stuff, okay? Like 80% of what's out there to know about that tool, okay? What else did I want to show you guys? Well, we still have 7 minutes, right? Let me ask you this question. How do I calculate margin of profit? And what is margin of profit? Sales minus cost divided by sales, right? So margin of profit represents what percentage of your sales figure is the profit, right? For example, if I sell a $100 item, right, and the cost of that item was $75, right, then profit is 25, right, on this sale. But the sale itself is 100, right? So therefore, you take 25 divided by 100, and your margin of profit is 25%, right? It basically tells you that 25% of your sale is the profit, right? That's pretty much the idea behind the margin of profit. Is there such thing in my field? No, but I do have a profit separately, right? Right here, okay? And I do have sales separately. Can I use these 2 columns to calculate the margin of profit? To see how profitable because, like for example, let me ask you this question. If I'm selling a $1,000 computer or a $5 stack of paper for printers, which one do you think, just from the general standpoint, is more profitable in terms of margin of profit, not in terms of how many dollars of profit I'm getting on the sale? Usually small things are more profitable, right? What do you see when you check out in the grocery store right by the checkout counter? Small stuff, right? Gum, the freaking newspapers, how Britney Spears was abducted by aliens, that type of stuff, right? Yeah. So why do you think they place these things? Well, number one is small, right? They can't place like big things, right, at the checkout counter. But usually in the store, by the checkout counter are the items that have highest margin of profit, right? Not the profit itself. Like when they sell you like a pack of gum, right, for like $2, their profit might be 50 cents. So it's not huge, right? But if you calculate the percentage of profit, 50 cents over $2, that's 25%. Nothing probably in the store comes close to that margin of profit, okay, to the gum. So these are most profitable, not in terms of dollars, but in terms of the percentages, okay? So in my case, same thing can happen, right? So my most profitable categories are right here, right? It's basically copiers technology and what's this one? Phones technology, right? Because they generate highest amount of dollars, right? But in terms of the percentage, it might be something completely different, right? In terms of margin of profit. So what I can do actually is I can calculate a new field, okay, based on existing fields. We actually saw that before, right? Remember when we did, when we messed with Python? Oh Jesus, what was that? Like customer age, right, or something like that. And then if the age is 23, we label them from between 20 to 30, right? If their age is 36, we label them from 30 to 40. In other words, oh no. We calculated based on the amount of like sales of stock, right? So if I sell stock, then money comes in, right? If I buy stock, money comes out, right? So based on whether it's buy or sell, right? And what is the stock price, like trade price and the number of shares, right? We calculated another field, right? That says proceed, right? Proceeds can be positive if it's sell or negative if it's buy, right? So we used other columns to calculate new columns that don't exist, right? I can do the same thing over here, okay? And that's probably going to be the last thing that we'll do. So let's do this. In the list of fields, okay, I'm going to right click on the orders and say create a new column. Okay, create a new column. And it says column right there, okay? It's a new one. And right here, I have actually a field where I can build my column, right? So let me go ahead and change from the generic name column to profit underscore margin, okay? And just like you guys told me, profit margin is really profit divided by sales, right? Well, times 100%, right? That's what profit margin is, okay? So I'm going to start typing profit and says, yep, I know profit. So your spreadsheet with the name orders, right? There is a field called profit. Is that what you want? Yes. I'm going to put this one, right? Divide, right? Divide by, I'm going to start typing sales. It says, yep, in the spreadsheet orders, right? In your data source, there is a column called sales. And I'm going to say multiply it by 100, okay? And after that, look at that. I have a new field which didn't exist before, right? Called profit margin. And it has the special icon which represents what? Probably that it is a computed field, right? So, like, you know, things that existed in my data source before, they're listed here, right? If they're numerical, there is a sigma sign. The calendar is against the dates, right? And this one is special. It says, well, you computed that, right? It didn't exist before. Okay, I'm going to save that. And if you go back to the data source, right, on the right side, on the left side, right there, okay, if you go back to the data source, this is our original data, right, as we imported that from Excel. Okay, if I scroll to the very end, what do you know? There is a new column which I just created, profit margin. And I can actually go ahead and slice, and now I can do the same type of analysis, right, to see which items are most profitable, but in a different sense, right? Not in terms of dollars, but in terms of percentages, right? That give me highest margin of profit, okay? All right, so I'm going to post that up in the cloud, which is called what? Scholar, right? And the video, I'm going to also download on my machine, upload into the YouTube, and post the link to the video, okay? But that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to show you as far as the Power BI goes. So now you can easily add the Power BI to your ever-expanding resume, okay? And that is it.
This is the end of Power BI.